AJ Rice, how are you?
What's going on, brother? There it is, the masterpiece.
The White Privilege album.
The
Publius
left
Prose.
loves it. The left just loves that title. They love the book cover. They're all on the Golden Gate Bridge jumping. It's amazing.
Would you call yourself a provocateur, AJ?
Indeed. Indeed. Yes. Most people from Philadelphia are. So, wait till you see who shows up at this Mets game. All right. I'm going to take over Queens with the fake fans. Anyway. Yeah, brother. Check 1, 2, check. How we doing?
We're all good. I think
All
we're right
right.
on the button.
All right, brother.
Are you here? You're here, just where we want you, plugged into the Paul Leslie Hour. We've got a returning guest, and this interview's gonna be huge. 10 days before America's ultimate election, we are pleased to welcome back Uber publicist and best-selling author A.J. Rice. And folks, don't forget to subscribe, and by all means, leave a comment below. And with that, let's go.
Let's talk about the very fine people.
The very fine people on both sides.
Indeed.
One of the hoaxes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, A.J. Rice returns, the author of the White Privilege album, Publius Prose Volume 2. He's also the president. Some people have said he's the GOAT of conservative media. I think that makes him the GOAT of all publicity. But who's asking me? So AJ, thanks for coming back on here. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, great to be here, brother. You wanted to talk with the GOAT. Ask and ye shall receive. I appreciate it. We're here to bring racial harmony to very fine people on both sides. Absolutely. And I know this audience is chock full, and I mean overflowing at the brim of very fine people.
Very fine people. That's why I keep showing up. So AJ, I think, this book, your last volume about the woke mind virus, this time you're zoning in on the one element of wokeism, the race thing.
That's right.
What made you want to focus in on white privilege and racism in particular on this book?
Well, look, this is a sequel to The Woking Dead, as you said. With wokeism, you can try to put together a unified theory of wokeness, but it's tough. It's tough because it's a target-rich environment, and, in some ways, when you're fighting cultural Marxists, it's kind of like nailing Jello to the wall. So what I wanted to do is inside of wokeism, and wokeism is this sort of, unhealthy smoothie of social justice, political correctness, and cancel culture. In there are some primary colors. So, The Woking Dead was kind of like a scatter shot of a lot of it. So I wanted to zero in, get the Hubble telescope out, zoom in, get in to, some of the race hustling and some of the, and look, it's disguised. Look, a lot of this ethnocentric left-wing Marxism, they disguise it. They can dress it up in different ways. And there's, obviously the trans mafia is a group that does their thing. And obviously people that are pushing the 1619 project, people that are pushing, the social justice warriors out there that used, George Floyd's death to try to burn down the West. When they're talking about white privilege, and obviously the book, I'm having some fun with the name. I want to apologize to the Beatles. But when they're talking about white privilege, they're really talking about three things. And it's three things that make up a successful civilization. Not all civilizations are created equal, which is why some of them go away. And not all cultures are created equal. I'm sorry. They're just not. They're not. So at the sort of macro level, when you hear white privilege or the intersectionality of this or the patriarchy of that, or, in particular, something is a construct of white privilege, this goofy, humanities department speak, they're talking about Western civilization. And when I mean Western civilization, I'm talking about Greco-Roman, Judeo-Christian civilization, the most successful, which is why everyone wants to come to it. Right? Now, parts of it have begun to fray at the edges, parts of Europe, parts of Western Europe, although, they're in a 2 steps forward, 1 step back situation. Italy was falling apart. Now Italy's got, a new prime minister who's fantastic, trying to pull them back. So, and that is sort of the decay of time. Everything sort of comes and goes. Germany has this peak empire at the end of the 20th century. And because of its strength, it starts 2 world wars, and then it gets torn in half, and half. Soviet Union's got half, and we've got half, and now it's back together, and it's, they're sorry. They're so sorry that they act like really left-wing kooks most of the time. So look, these things happen, fine. Brexit and so on. So when you hear some of these race hustlers in academia and the media and Hollywood talking about white privilege, Western civilization has to go. Absolutely has to go. Take a step down. The middle class has to go. Now, Kamala can say she's a member of it all day long. Okay? She's a member of all kinds of things that are questionable. But it has been the goal of economic Marxists, for 100 years, to take apart the middle class. We talked a little bit about this with The Walking Dead, is that they're willing to burrow in like termites, a big, long, disgusting Marxist tapeworm that overlays 100 years, pre-World War I, and they want to infect things because they know, because we have a thriving middle class here, that they're not going to get your sort of classical Marxist overthrow. You're not going to hang the capitalists by the rope they manufactured. It's not going to happen. So they're going to get into the system, and they get into the public sector unions and Democrat Party and Broadway and Hollywood and early radio and the newspaper business, and now obviously the tech business and professional sports and so on. And they're in there. They're in there to shame us. They're in there because they don't like the middle class. They want us all in Kamala's bread lines, lining up like the peasants that we're supposed to be, this serf class. And then, Kamala and Chuck Schumer and Biden will feed us when we're hungry, right? They're never going to bathe us, but they'll give us a little bit of poison water. They'll have a train derail from time to time in Ohio. Maybe they'll parachute some Haitians in to eat our pets. That's what they'll do. They have to destroy the middle class. They have to. It has to go so that they can get, the pure Stalinism, which is why they don't really care about unchecked immigration. It's why they push the Green New Deal, because none of us are going to be able to afford it. They'll bankrupt us all. Bankrupt the country. Bankrupt me and you. They love high gas prices. They love it. They love the inflation. $6 eggs. They love it. They love these interest rates on these homes and these cars. The third thing that they're after to get rid of is the nuclear family. The nuclear family has to go. Now, Black Lives Matter told us that the nuclear family had to go. They put it on their website. They're very proud of it. Mother and father and a child, a mother, father, 2 children, and a dog named Spot, and so on. That this was a construct of white privilege, that this was white supremacy, that no one could realistically ever live up to this. And it's on their website. It's right next to the I Heart Hamas message, because they can do both. They love Hamas. They hate the nuclear family. And they don't like breeders. They don't want you to breed. Every one of those disgusting children you made, another carbon footprint that they have to account for. You know, they don't care about Al Gore's jet, John Kerry's jet, Leo DiCaprio's jet. They don't care about any of that. They care about you having more, either replacing yourselves, so 2 for 2. But if you go over 2 for 2, oh, party of 5, not allowed. Okay, disgusting breeders, you have to go. So those are the 3 things, right? Western civ, middle class, nuclear family. Now, here's the thing. We are not a multicultural country. We have one culture here, Western culture. We are a multi-ethnic country, which means, you know, you could come here as long as you do it legally. There is no color, white, black, see-through, or anything else. There is no color to it. There's no color to the nuclear family. There's no color to the middle class. If you come here, you can participate in the great experiment, and, you know, it's for you, and you should embrace it. They don't like that. They don't like it. It's why everything has to be reset, because what can be unburdened by what has been. And a lot of people think that's Kamala's nonsense. Oh no, oh no, oh no. That's Mao. That's Castro. That's Hugo Chavez. That's Ho Chi Minh. That's the Kim boys over there in North Korea. Anti-Marxism. Lenin, Stalin, Gorky, Trotsky. That's a reset statement.
Yeah.
So that's why they need to replace Western civilization. They need to replace the nuclear family. They need to replace the middle class. Because if there's one thing wokeism brings about, trickle-down wokeism, is misery. Trickle-down misery. I believe happy people have more children, so they need to make us miserable. They want us alone. They want us full of grievances. They want us childless. They want us to have cats, I guess, unless you're in Ohio. And they want Taylor Swift on in the background. That's what they want. That's what they want. So J.D. Vance, okay, miserable, childless cat ladies, okay? There's a reason Kamala Harris didn't get married till last week. Because, au contraire to what she was saying at the convention about the joy, all the good vibes and the joy, there is nothing that will suck joy more from you, ladies and gentlemen, than cultural Marxism. They are here to make you miserable. They got the Taylor Swift music ready for you, which is why they're very proud of her endorsement. They're bleeding blacks. They're bleeding Hispanics. They're bleeding Jews. They're bleeding Muslims in Michigan. But they got the miserable, unmarried cat lady, childless cat lady vote. They got it wrapped up. They got it wrapped up. That's why Kamala went on The View, so she could talk to them, all her people. She's not going to North Carolina to help out. She's not going to, Georgia to help out. She could care less. Care less about, Maui burning down. Could care less about North Carolina being underwater. They could care less. Got to talk to my people, her people, childless cat lady people. So she goes on The View, and she's there to talk to her constituents. I mean, look, at the debate with Trump, she had one goal when she went out there. It was to get under Trump's skin, and it worked, because the one thing that Kamala is great at, other than getting under desks, is getting under men's skin, which is why she couldn't find a husband until last week. A husband that I guess doesn't really have a value for women himself, since he's slapping them and impregnating nannies and doing all kinds of other things, right? Everyone's so hard on Melania, right? Or Marla Maples, Trump's been married 3 times. Fine. Reagan was married twice. Okay? Here's the smallest violin for that. Okay? I mean, the reality is that Kamala represents an artifice of globalism and wokeism, and their goal is not to bring joy, it's to suck it from you. So we need to get out and vote to make sure it doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Now, AJ, you're in the thick of everything. you get a lot of emails. I know for a fact that you know a lot of things before other people know about them. How much do you think race is going to play in this ultimate election, the 2024 election?
Well, I mean, I gave you the numbers. I mean, she is underwater with Muslims in Michigan for various reasons. She's underwater in Michigan in general. She got the, United Auto Workers. They want gasoline powered cars. That's what they want. The head of the union can do what it wants, but the rank and file, forget it. Michigan is built on gasoline, and she don't like gasoline. She could run around, frack this, frack you fracky, frack me in the face, whatever. She could say this all day long about fossil fuels. But then you've got Muslims in Michigan. They don't like, it's so funny, for the exact same reason, you got Jews in Pennsylvania and New York going towards Trump for the exact reason Muslims in Michigan are. It's amazing. You want to talk about being a campaign ninja. The fact that the Trump administration is pulling that off, because it's really tied up with what's going on with Israel and Palestine, a lot of it. And look, Hispanics, Asians, Indian Americans. I mean, she's supposedly some kind of first Jamaican and Indian and Canadian and, the first manager of an H&R Block. She dresses like she's going to H&R Block every day. I mean, she's supposed to have some of these constituencies wrapped up. But let me just tell you this. I have fun with the Benetton ad, the sushi menu of all the different groups. But these are all Americans. And regardless of the type of food they eat or how much melanin they have, they all see the same thing. A fraud. And Donald Trump has made the Republican Party more working class, more blue collar, but also more multi-ethnic, right? And I understand the white dorks at the Chamber of Commerce aren't real excited about that, but tough. You got these counties along the Rio Grande Valley there between Mexico and Texas, not exactly filled with Scandinavians, and they are all voting for Trump. Latin as can be. Because they all know. They just escaped some left-wing dump. They're not going to let Kamala turn us into one. We've been heading down that road. We had 8 years of Hussein in the membrane. Trump plugged the dam a little bit for 4 years, and he was fighting tooth and nail with everyone. Freaking Paul Ryan and Foghorn Leghorn, Mitch McConnell, the whole gang. They got their little tax cut, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, we got 3 judges, which is good. Might get 3 more if he gets reelected. And I'll tell you, then you really will have a MAGA Supreme Court. Congratulations, dummies. So, look, they replaced Biden. They pulled Kamala off the trash heap. This is a woman who's never won a primary on her own. And, say what you want about Hillary Clinton, but she went up against John Edwards and Barack. Obama made fun of her to her face, said, you're likable enough. Then she went up against Bernie and squeaked by there. We had some rigging, some Debbie Wasserman Schultz okey doke at the Democrat National Convention there in 2016 with the superdelegates. But she always got good grades. She was better prepared than her husband. Better grades at Yale than Bill, and George W. Bush was there with her. And it must be killing her to see this accidental woman from under the desk end up the nominee, failing upward. And I've got to think, Paul, that when she's looking at Kamala, she sees Monica Lewinsky. It must just kill her. So, when I go to bed at night, I have little pleasures, little moments of comfort, and sometimes in other people's misery. I think Greg Gutfeld calls it the joy of hate. I think he wrote a book called that. It's a good title. Wish I thought of it. But the joy of hate there is real. I'm super glad Because look how miserable she is. I mean, she's on TV. Her face is melting off. She's talking to what's his name? What's his name? Rachel Maddow, the gentleman on MSNBC. I think that's his name, Rachel. So yeah, and she's on there and she's saying what she's saying, and she's pissed off because she had things taken from her by men. First her husband, then Barack, then Trump, and now Lewinsky. It might end up being the first. Kamala might end up being the first female president. So it must be eating her alive, and I'm enjoying all of it. So watch me relish it.
Yeah, there has to be some real bitterness there. No doubt.
Unbelievable. So
you would say that if you were to make a prediction, it sounds like from what you're saying, Trump is sitting in a good spot right now.
We've got this. We've got it. They can't look for various reasons. Zuckerberg's letter, Elon buying Twitter, RFK Jr.'s people, Tulsi's people, Ron Paul's people, some Bernie people that know that this whole thing is the globalist rigging, and that they'll vote for Trump because of it. We have an unbelievable coalition of various backgrounds, a whole group of people that, if you'd have told me 4 years ago that this group of people were going to come together, I'd be like, "What are you smoking?" So the American people have to ask themselves, who do you want to roll with? Do you want to roll with Trump and Elon and Tulsi and RFK Jr., all Democrats that have flipped, they've been red pilled? Or do you want to roll with, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the Cheneys?
Yeah.
You want to roll with the Cheneys? Kamala goes out on stage. I'm standing here with a letter. Got 250 deep state scum. They work for McCain. They work for the heroes that were captured, the heroes that weren't captured. They worked for Linguini Spine Mitt Romney with his magical underwear. They worked, some of them, for the Bushes. I see Dana Perino and Ari Fleischer and Karl Rove on TV. I wonder where they are, really.
Yeah.
I believe Ari Fleischer. Rove, I'm not sure I believe. Turd Blossom, I think that's George W. Bush's nickname for him was Turd Blossom. Turd Blossom. Turd Blossom. Okay? I want to say it again. So I don't know whether I believe Turd Blossom and Dana. I want to. We'll see. I'm sure they'll all say, I knew we were going to win again. But who would you rather roll with? Would you rather roll with Elon and Tulsi? Bobby? Or do you want to roll with, the deep state? You want to talk about an example for all time that this whole thing is just one gigantic uniparty, one gigantic controlled opposition. The fact that these wackos are all throwing in with her because she's not really a candidate. Let's be honest. And Biden wasn't either. Imagine if, Publius PR, I'm the CEO. We are the center of the MAGA cinematic universe. And imagine inside the multiverse, they let RFK Jr. debate Biden way early on. Now, they didn't. They didn't because he would have cleaned his clock. He would have taken out his Irish Catholic shillelagh and beat him to death. He would have spanked him, and he would have been exposed way earlier.
Yeah.
So they were able to get him through a primary challenge without debating Bobby. And they would have stuck with him. If Trump didn't expose him in that debate, they would have stuck with him. Imagine what we've uncovered. But this is why we're starting to question everything. Normal people, like some grandmom at Safeway or Giant. I don't know if I saw the second plane go into the building. And I'm not saying I go down these roads, but we have now had flawed reality pretty much since the OG came down the golden escalator with Melania. I don't care whether it's crossfire hurricane or COVID or the greatest African American who ever lived, George Floyd dying. People start to question everything. They're questioning the Kennedy assassination now. They're questioning the moon landing. They're questioning everything. They're questioning this freaking hurricane. All of a sudden, some hurricane that makes landfall rips its way through 28 Trump voting counties over top of the largest quartz and lithium deposit on the East Coast. And the government wants to come in and just seize property using eminent domain. I sound like Jones, right? I sound like Jones.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but most of us have become Jones at this point, right? I mean, I've worked with very rational establishment people. I did Charles Krauthammer's books, who's no longer with us. And, Victor Davis Hanson. I've worked with Andy McCarthy books. I mean, I probably somewhere pre-Trump, I did some Never Trumper books and they became Never Trumpers. But, where we're at now, we're questioning everything, which I think is probably good. I think it's good. I don't think it's bad. And some of it's kooky. Okay. But, Jones doesn't have to be right 100% of the time. And Bannon and everyone, Tucker and everyone else, Rice, we just have to be right enough for skepticism of a lot of this. I mean, when Elon bought Twitter, now X, he said, I got in there, I looked around, and it turned out that, 90% of the conspiracy theories people had about Twitter were true. They were true. So most things that are conspiracy theories, at least in this era, the MAGA cinematic universe era, which includes the Bobby people and Ron and Rand Paul's people and obviously the populists with Trump, they all have expiration dates. Every conspiracy theory that you've heard, from Chris Cuomo taking ivermectin, right, to, the virus escaping Dr. Fauci's underwear drawer, these things, they eventually become true. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Now, there's a passage in the book I wanted to real quick go over. You say, injecting racism into literally every corner and cranny of American life is the sole reason to exist for too many publications and writers now. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring that up, it wasn't long ago, and you're going to either laugh or you're going to get a stomach ache. Somebody came up to me and they said, Paul, why don't you listen to more NPR? Because you know that it's not biased. Someone said that to me. But it really is. It's in every corner and cranny, to use your words. But why is it? Why is it that the media, their main go-to, it's like, it could be anything. Gluten, white privilege. Christmas is racist. I mean, like, picnic,
Sure.
Whatever. What's up?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the sort of monochromatic left-wing petri dish that a lot of these people come out of. A lot of them are prepped, fancy kids. They go from their prep kindergarten to their elite college and graduate school, law school, whatever it is. Go get their PhD in, lesbian basket weaving or whatever it is. And they're only around people that think like them. We don't really have red and blue states. We have a red country with blue cities. And some of the suburbs have been infected. That's when the lily white people who pretend to care about minorities flee to the suburbs and start voting Democrat there, right? They live in the whitest, richest neighborhoods in America, and they got their Black Lives Matter flag flapping in the wind off the front. The love is love. Love is love. Never forget love is love. Okay? Love is love, bumper stickers and the coexist and the this and the that. I mean, really, hug a Muslim, whatever it is, befriend a midget, hug a Muslim, in this house, we vaccinate and we do bong hits and whatever else we do. But, the reality is that a lot of it has to do with who they interact with, right? They're not going to tractor pulls. They're not going to the rodeo. They're not going to bingo night in Sheboygan. They're not. They are not. They've got fancy food and fancy clothes. You know, they all have warranties on their Mercedes and their Audis. And I'm not against nice things. And I'm not a wealth hater at all. I think the American dream is there for everyone, and you can spend your money how you want to spend your money. That's the beauty of it. You want to buy a ranch? Fine. You want to buy a brownstone in, Brooklyn? Beautiful. But a lot of them inject it because DEI and ESG in particular have gotten into, corporate America. I see some of that is they're backing off a little bit. But someone at Budweiser, I guess we know who it is. It's usually the middle management wackos. Decided to put a tranny in a bathtub with 2 Bud Light pounders. And they thought to themselves, my God, this is the audience we want to reach with Bud Light. They're obviously tone deaf. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know who the audience is. But they did it. And then one of the greatest Americans alive pulled off what I would consider a Waterloo for wokeism, a woke Waterloo. And that is when Kid Rock pulled out his AR-15 and lit up a bunch of cases of Bud Light. You're talking about a side-by-side. I think Kid Rock is a little closer to the demo for Bud Light. I don't even drink Bud Light. I'm too fancy for Bud Light. Although, Anheuser-Busch is a great American company and it should be supported. So their owner of, they got on a plane to fly to Kid Rock's house immediately. So you have situations like that where the market and the people change people's behavior, right? But they are in the newsrooms. They are, and it's not just political media, it's sports media too. It's sports media. Look, we have video that has surfaced in the last 48 hours of FEMA, whose job, Federal Emergency Management Agency, is to rush in when these hurricanes happen, talking about prioritizing hurricane victims through identity politics.
Yeah.
Rushing in and saving the trans people first. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why trans people can drown quicker than non-trans people. They don't really explain that. Do they have blowholes or something in them that I don't? They should be able to breathe underwater with some of the stuff they do to themselves, actually. But the reality is, I don't understand it. There's a section of the book where I talk about the Minneapolis public school system making cuts for various reasons, probably because they suck, but they're making cuts. And they made a decision that if we're going to fire people, we're going to fire the white people first. So no different than FEMA. If everyone, we got 100 people drowning, find the trans people first, save them first. So we've gone from, forgive me, we've gone from, the Titanic, women and children first, to, in the case of a hurricane with FEMA, save, and I apologize, Paul, ahead of time, save the bearded lady first. So we went from women and children first to save the bearded lady first, okay? I don't want to throw shade at everyone with beards. I wish I could grow one. I'm still waiting to go through puberty. But the reality is, the reality is that we are going to save the bearded lady first. To hell with the women and children. And that's where we are now. And that's why I have to make fun of these people. I have to channel Breitbart and Limbaugh and use irreverent humor to illustrate truth. Use absurdity to illustrate truth, right? That's why on the back of my book, I've got a blurb from Joseph Stalin and Santa Claus and all kinds of, I could have got a blurb from you, Paul. I could have asked Ingram again. I could have asked, General Spaulding. Poor General Spaulding. It's got to be associated with me. Judge Janine and Hegseth and so on. But I got a blurb from Ben Franklin, Joseph Stalin. I even got a blurb from Hamas. You know, it wasn't really a blurb. It was more of a threat. Buy one book, get fatwa free. You get fatwa free. Buy one book, get fatwa free. So you got to mock these people. You got to make fun of them. You got to make fun of them. You know, and you reach a different audience. I think. I think there's a reason. There's a reason Gutfeld is trouncing. You know, the 3 Jimmys or the 2 Jimmy. I don't know how many Jimmys are on, and the Steven, but he is. He's beating them badly. And look, some comedians get it. I think Bill Maher, you know, he's going to be intellectually honest, gets it. You know, and obviously guys like Chappelle and Ricky Gervais. I mean, that Ricky Gervais, you talk about Waterloo moments.
Yeah.
Of wokeism. The Bud Light AR-15 for sure with Kid Rock, but Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes, I mean, that will go down in history. I mean, he ended them.
Yeah.
So I don't really think he's a right-wing guy. I don't think Jerry Seinfeld is.
Yeah.
You know, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this. Entertainment people.
Yeah, I was curious who, in our last minute or so here, who do you think is somebody who would maybe never admit it, who is going to vote for Trump or vote a red ticket?
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. Okay.
Hands down. Absolutely.
I was going to say Seinfeld.
I don't know. Seinfeld's on Long Island. He's hanging out with, you know, look, Seinfeld is intellectually honest about humor. Something Howard Stern is not being honest about. You know, even guys like Fallon are not being honest about. But Seinfeld's part of that clique out there in the Hamptons with Billy Joel and the rest of them. You know, I don't know. I don't know about Seinfeld. Maybe. I would not be shocked. He is from Queens, just same as Trump. They are they were Mets guys at once upon a time. You know, if he doesn't listen too much to Larry David, maybe he will vote for Trump. But Vince Vaughn, my guy. I mean, even recently he said, you know, comedy, some of these movies we made, even like, you know, Old School and Tropic Thunder and, you know, some of the Laugh Pack movies they were called, Anchorman and Swingers and some of these, they couldn't get made. They couldn't get made, you know, and he was actually talking about that, you know, you just can't get these scripts approved. Not going to happen. So.
Yeah. Well, AJ Rice, a pleasure to have you on yet again. Everybody, you can see it behind AJ, but it's right here. The White Privilege album, Publius Prose Volume 2, bringing racial harmony to very fine people on both sides. AJ, God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
You. Hey, we love you. You're a patriot. We appreciate everything you do for Publius PR. And I just want to tell all the very fine people out there, get out there and vote.
Amen. All right, sir. Until next time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We thank you and appreciate you dropping in for the Paul Leslie Hour today. You know, you can help the Paul Leslie Hour in our mission to provide independent media content like this by visiting www.thepaulleslie.com/support. We truly thank you. This is your announcer speaking. Performance of The Entertainer intro song and Corina Corina outro song, courtesy of John Primorano. Well, that's it for today. So until next time, be safe and be good.